She went to bed unaware, and I slipped into the night, chasing obsession and thrill. By the time I returned, she was still asleep, trusting, oblivious to what I'd done. She went to bed really tired one night and said she wasn't in the mood. I craved it and just couldn't sleep, thinking about the lust spinning in my head, images of sweaty bodies being pounded. I felt guilty already, but I knew I had to have some. So I got out of bed quietly, put on my clothes, and crept down the stairs without making a sound. I opened the front door, walking softly to the street to make sure I didn't wake her with my footsteps. In the shadow of the streetlights, I raced to the bar just around the corner. And I found what I sought, as bright and beautiful as ever, radiant in the dimly lit bar. The guys at the bar just stared and awed this lovely image, too nervous to make a move. But I walked right up and took a seat as close as I could, leaning in even nearer. I could hear every word over the voices in the bar. As the tension mounted and pictures of intertwined bodies filled my head, I knew it was time to make the well-practiced pass. It just naturally happened. First, the arm moving forward, then a turn of the shoulders, a twist of the hips. I was tingling, sweating in anticipation of this being a night to remember or one to possibly regret. The other guys in the bar watching must have thought that this guy was moving too quickly, in too big of a hurry to score. Staring in awe at the beauty getting closer and closer in front of me, I thought, don't fumble this audacious pass. But I could see that there were no obstacles, and the path forward was entirely clear. Then, in a moment I knew I was sure, a line had been crossed. My two hands gripped the bar as my lustful hunger was being satisfied with unimaginable pleasure secretly until my orgasmic scream. "Touchdown Steelers! Touchdown Steelers!" as all the voices shouted in unison and the bar erupted in cheer. When I returned home, I slipped in as quietly as leaving, and she was still asleep, unaware that I had gone out on her and gotten the beauty that I craved. Morning came with the same quiet inevitability as before, but this time it felt heavier. My body ached in ways I hadn't expected, not just from movement, but from tension, from the constant coil of anticipation and release that had become a shadow around me. My eyes opened to pale light, slicing through the blinds, cutting lines across the room like reminders of the choices I had made. She was beside me, peaceful, untouched, the same innocence I had betrayed twice now. Her arm rested across my chest, a gentle anchor, and my stomach twisted with guilt. I wanted to hold her, to bury myself in the comfort of her warmth, to forget the night entirely. But the memory was already etched in me, vivid and electric. I could still feel the bar, hear the roar, taste the release. It pulsed beneath my skin like a second heartbeat I couldn't stop. I lay there, pretending to sleep, letting her rest in peace. I traced patterns on the blanket with my fingertips, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying each motion, each scream, each surge of ecstasy that had carried me away from her. She stirred first, rubbing her eyes, stretching, the morning light catching the curve of her lips. "Morning," she said softly. "Morning," I murmured, voice hoarse. The words felt hollow, too light, too fragile to carry the weight of what I was hiding. I watched her move around the kitchen, preparing breakfast with the same hum of normalcy, her motions grounding and frustrating all at once. I tried to focus on small tasks, pouring coffee, buttering toast, reading the newspaper. Each sound, each routine seemed ordinary, mundane, yet in my mind every mundane act clashed with the memory of fire. My pulse still throbbed in memory of the bar's roar, my fingers still itched with phantom electricity. By midday, I was restless. The office, my work, the normal rhythms of life, they felt distant, hollow. My hands itched, my chest tightened, my body demanded release. Every sound became a trigger. A car horn outside, a laugh down the hall, the faint echo of a sports channel playing somewhere in the building. My mind screamed for another taste, another night, another roar. I thought of the bar already. The glow of lights, the crowd pressing in around me, the heat, the rush, the scream. My pulse quickened at the thought. Guilt pushed back. It whispered of her innocence, of her trust, of the warmth that could have stayed in instead of abandoning. It reminded me of what I had already done, twice now, and the weight of it pressed heavy on my chest. My stomach turned, but the craving overpowered it, subtle at first, then louder, insistent. By the time the workday ended, the choice loomed again. Another night, another temptation, and even as I walked home, the familiar streets stretching before me, I knew the pull would be nearly irresistible. Inside, she was waiting, smiling, trusting, unaware. She offered warmth, comfort, routine, yet my body already ached for the other night, the other life, the other rush. The war inside me had only just begun. Morning came slow and heavy. The memories of the bar, the crowd, the screams, the release, they weren't fading. They were growing sharper, more insistent, demanding attention even in daylight. She moved around the house, peaceful, trusting, unaware. I envied her ability to exist in ordinary life, untouched by the obsession that had claimed me. Yet I couldn't resist. My mind was a constant storm, replaying the bar, the crowd, the screams, the release, over and over. Each memory brought heat to my chest, tension to my muscles, an ache I couldn't soothe. By midday, I realized the pull had become unbearable. The office, the streets, even her presence, none of it could contain the hunger inside me. Every mundane sound, a laugh, a shout, the distant rumble of traffic, became a spark threatening to ignite the fire again. I could barely sit still. My hands trembled, my pulse raced. The next night loomed like a promise and a threat. I knew I could go again. I knew I would. But even in that knowledge, guilt pressed down harder than ever. Night fell heavy, almost suffocating. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows, and the air was sharp with the scent of autumn leaves and asphalt. My pulse throbbed violently in my chest, my body aching with anticipation, muscles taut like coiled springs. This wasn't just a craving anymore. It was an obsession, relentless, urgent, impossible to ignore. I lingered in the hallway, just outside her bedroom. Her breathing was steady, innocent, trusting. Every instinct screamed to stay. Every muscle tensed with the pull of desire. My body was a battlefield, guilt and craving warring with equal ferocity. I stepped forward anyway. Hand on the doorknob, heart hammering, the streets awaited. The bar, the crowd, the release, all of it pulsed in my veins like a living thing. And I knew, with a terrifying clarity, that the obsession had won.